I professionally mutate snakes for a living. My name is Garrett Hartle, and this is Out Reptiles. You see, like I'm sure a lot of you, I was a nature and animal lover from birth. Some of the creatures that captivated me most that we have on this planet are the ones that other people feared or never understood. This led me to a discovery of an isolated population of miniaturized giant constrictors. The reticulated python, longest snakes on the planet, had somehow drifted out to a remote island that was stripped of natural resources like shelter, food, clean water. Their size became gradually smaller over time, allowing them to better take care of the resources that were provided. These animals became known as Superdwarf reticulated pythons. So I began to collect, to learn how to care for, and eventually breed in captivity these little island pythons. Now, the island homes from whence they hail are little more than coral reefs that have become exposed over time and gathered a collection of brush, mangroves, and scrub. And on that coral background, the animals began to shift not only in size, but also in color. And soon, a recessive trait known as aneurystic took hold in this island population. This trait presents the beautiful black, white, and silver tones of the animal that you see here before you. Now, these animals' natural subtle beauty was soon overshadowed by the morph or mutation craze that really began to take off in the 1990s. Things like albino reticulated pythons had been found, undeniable in beauty, and yet with the capability of reaching upwards of 200 pounds, they were unattainable by most people interested in keeping pythons in an artificial environment. Then an idea was born. Introduce the mutated genetics of the albino reticulated python into the island population of the superdwarfs. In doing so, we hoped to reduce the size, maintain the beautiful colors, and, almost as if by accident, bred that silver color phase into the albino, taking an animal of rich, vibrant orange colors and stripping those away into a silver and white snake known as a snow. Now, the snow is the combination of two different mutations in a single animal, stripping away both the ability to produce melanin, the pigment responsible for all the darkest coloration, and also rendering the animal incapable of expressing red coloration as well. And thus the first snows were born some 14 years ago out of an attempt to reduce the size of these pythons and maintain that albinistic mutation. Because both the anery and albino mutations were recessive, this double expression of recessive traits was extremely difficult. Because of this difficulty in bringing forth all these genetics into a single animal, so few of them were made that they were only within the reach of the most discriminating reptile collectors. You can imagine the joy that that would bring to somebody as they acquired their new trophy and living piece of art. But it wasn't to last. Soon, a new genetic mutation was to be discovered in the jungles of Southeast Asia, known as the mocha. That mocha trait, when crossed into the albino mutation, allowed the animal to produce a limited amount of that dark pigmentation, known as melanin, resulting in an animal that had nearly black patterning over those albino colorations. The result of crossing together the mutations of mocha and albino became known as Mochino, and it wasn't long, in fact in 2013, the concept was hashed out that the snow should be further mutated into the Mochino gene, bringing the darkest black pigment on the pattern, but maintaining that bone white background coloration of the snow. Because of its recessive nature, these mutations would take several generations to surface. And the first Mochino head anneries were produced in 2015. Following standard captive propagation time schedules, that would mean that the first Snowchinos could be realized in as little as another year or two. But it didn't go as planned. In the years that followed, breeder after breeder, one attempt after another failed, all for seemingly different reasons, seemingly unknown reasons. And many believed the project had some kind of a curse. Perhaps this captive quest for the perfection of a natural lineage had gone too far. Perhaps the mutations were not compatible and did not have favorable results. Many questions circled the minds of the people working with the project, but nobody quite understood why the Snowchino became so elusive. That is, until 2020. And born amidst a year that was clouded with the news of a global pandemic, the world's first Snowchino arrived. With an additional layer of contrast and coloration that had never been seen before, the Snowchino did not disappoint. And as often happens in mutation breedings, no sooner was the animal seen that our minds began to think of what we could do next. However, we didn't understand that what was to come next had already arrived. Through a series of miscommunications, accidental animal introductions, and a successful but mysterious breeding, a further mutated genetic trait was added to the Snowchino complex. A mutation that removed all separation of pattern, blending all these unnatural and unusual coloration together. Only weeks after the first Snowchino hatched, she was followed by the zombie snow. I don't think anyone could have predicted what would result from this combination of mutations after generations of breeding. The animal's appearance takes on that of a deep-seated bruise from a blunt injury, with purples and greens coming out from what seems like within the snake and an iridescent rainbow sheen running over the top of the animal. Some of the only pattern remaining on the animal is the dark outline surrounding the white eyes, as if it had eyeliner, with only a pencil-thin, almost drawn-on line down the center of the head and a few speckling reminiscent of the dirt left on the animal as it crawled out of the grave. The zombie snow looks like something from beyond this life. After basically creating the Frankenstein monster of the reptile world, I was forced to ask myself, have I gone too far? And also, what is next? Let us know what you think of this creature, and if you're interested in learning more about the genetics of reticulated pythons, watch the video here. Kiss of death. Oh, it's been so nice.